I've had this in my pile of unpainted pieces for too long. So I finally got some inspiration, and the first thing I did is take off the hardware and take the whole thing apart. The hardware will get a color change, and I do take the doors and the top off just to make sure I can get a nice finish on it without worrying about painting any hinges or getting paint where it does not belong. After I take all the hardware off, I do take the doors and the top off. That way I don't have to worry about where I'm getting paint if it doesn't belong there. I can paint the outside and the inside and the back of those doors before I get them back on. And I do leave those big hinges on. I'll tell you in a second why. I label all the drawers because, especially in this case, because I'm going to be doing a decoupage paper that's continuous. So I want to make sure that when somebody takes those drawers out and puts them back in, they don't have to play like it's a puzzle. They can just know exactly where they go back. I do leave this hinge on halfway because sometimes these don't like to come off and sometimes they don't like to go back on. So I do leave it on and I tape it off so I don't get any paint on it. I forgot about this little magnetic piece, but I'm rolling on primer to make sure that my paint is going to stick to this piece nicely. And since I'm using a light color, I don't get any of that oaky color coming through to my light finish. This is it all primed up and I'm ready for paint. I didn't paint it because it's basically like primer, but I used this pale yellow silk by Dixie Belle. I used the Blushing Roses paper, also by Dixie Belle. It was in their newest release in March, and it comes in these 3 pieces. But because I needed to cover those drawers, I'm cutting it down the middle and I will piece them together. I'm folding and cutting those pieces as close as I can to cover the entire drawer, and I'll get those all ready and get my decoupage medium. I'm using Satin Clear Coat by Dixie Belle. I do like it compared to other things on the market, but you can use your decoupage medium of choice. I spray the back of the paper with a fine mist bottle, and then I put my clear coat down and take my wet brush and just run it over the paper. This gives me a virtually wrinkle-free finish on my decoupage without ripping it. I pay careful attention to those corners, making sure that they're stuck down as well as I can, and I can always fix them later if I need to. Now I turned the bottom rows upside down because I like the way it looked better like that. So I did have this gaping hole that I need to finish off. So I'm grabbing some paint and I'm putting a little bit of a different color in there just for some interest to fill in that spot. And I think it looks really beautiful in the middle of that piece. As I said before, we're going to be changing the color of the hardware with some of Dixie Belle's gilding wax. This is an oil-based wax and it works perfect on the middle of the hardware. You just brush it on. I'm using a makeup brush from Five Below, I believe, and a couple hours later you just buff it back to make sure none of it comes off and it shines. I love that it just gives that little gold shimmer to the box. I didn't do any other accenting. I wanted those roses to speak for themselves, and they're absolutely gorgeous on this pale yellow color. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you again soon.